Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bocce Boys podcast. It is March 18th, and we have a bracket, ladies and gentlemen. Selection Sunday has come and passed. We have 4 regions all set up, and we're going to get into them starting right now. Let's not waste any more time. Hello, everybody. We are here. Davis, we have a bracket. Flash it up on the screen right now. I know it's not the bracket we're going to look at this whole time, but this is it. This is the 2024 Men's National Championship Tournament bracket. And it feels so good to be here. Although maybe a tad bit stressful, Davis.
We're here. Going through these picks. I was up late last night doing some deep dives, going through every single game, going through every possibility.
Yeah.
I think we feel pretty informed. I don't know how you feel. I feel perfect bracket.
No, the more informed I'm getting, the worse I'm feeling about this. We'll get into our who our champions are and who we actually think is gonna win each game later, but just over guessing every single thing. It doesn't matter what you think, the opposite thing will happen. It's the season where you don't know anything, and I love it the best. I don't know much about South Dakota State, but I know they're going to get their ass handed to them by Iowa State. But what's going to happen next week or the following game? Who are they going to play? Wazoo or Drake? I mean, here we go. It's the time of the year where you talk to the people you don't talk to all year just to talk a little crap about the school that they're playing, all that stuff. Davis, it's nice to see this, but let's get into the bracket. But first, let's take a little detour to Snub City because there's never a good bracket without a bit of discourse. And I just threw up some tweets from the college basketball world that caught my eye. But, Davis, the biggest snubs, if you can pick from across the screen, Indiana State, St. John's, Seton Hall, and then I think Pitt deserves a little bit of love here too. What was your opinion the biggest snub?
I think the biggest snub was the viewer. I mean, it sounds cliche to say. I mean, we saw so many bid stealers win their conferences. We saw NC State win their conference. We saw New Mexico win their conference. We saw so many of these teams who weren't going to get in end up winning their conference and getting the auto bid. And that's why we have these the 10 line now is where we see the bubble teams is because of this. Ethan, if you had to tell me one team I was most shocked about missing the tournament, honestly, it was St. John's. And it sounds weird to say, the committee didn't even have them in their first 4 out. The committee had them probably at 5th, which is crazy to me. I don't know if that goes back to anything with net ranking, as in them being a home team during the conference tournament, like we talked about last week. But I think their snub is ridiculous. I also agree with Seton Hall's being a snub. They beat UConn and Marquette this year. It's pretty tough to beat top 2 teams in your conference and not make the tournament. So, I don't know. I think I would say Seton Hall is the team I'm most surprised about because of those 2 wins. And just the complete snubbery of the Big East was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I was going to say. The biggest snub is the Big East. If you will look at the tweet in the top left corner, KenPom has the Big East as the second best conference in the country by the numbers, as they should be, and they only got 3 bids. Mind you, they did get 3 very powerful bids. UConn, a 1 seed, Marquette, a 2 seed, and Creighton, a 3 seed. So 3 of their top teams getting the love that they deserve. But like you said, a couple of fringe teams that, I mean, the Big East battle tested. Any one of these teams would have done well. I think the Big East did very well last year in terms of in tournament record. So I think it's a little silly. There's a lot of tweets you can read on this page in front of us. The one I will read is from John Fanta. For the first time in the 45-year history of the Big East Conference, a team went over 5 games, over 500 conference play, and did not make the NCAA tournament. That team is Seton Hall. Crazy.
Yeah. It just shows you. I think it just shows you how many of these auto bids were just. I mean, again, the auto bid snubbery of this year were just stolen. Indiana State is a team I know that their KenPom ranking was in the top 30, but we can even look at New Mexico. Like if the committee came out and said if New Mexico did not win the Mountain West, they would not have made the tournament, and they're ranked even higher than Indiana State. I think they're around 26th. Which is, again, insane to me that they're not looking into these metrics. And there's another tweet on here about another team I quickly want to touch on, Michigan State. What did the committee say? Why they got in? Because of their quad 1 resume. What did they do this year? They just went like 2-10 against quad 1 teams this year. The committee doesn't. I don't think the committee really knows what they're talking about. They are so financially invested with the fact that Michigan State will bring in more viewers than Indiana State. But we want to see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We want to see the big man at Indiana State. He would have been the next guy. He would have been the next guy that we all would have been talking about for weeks.
No, I agree.
So I think Michigan State is. I think the committee got many of these seedings wrong, and we'll definitely talk about which ones we think are wrong.
Yeah, I think they did a lot wrong this year, but unfortunately, let's not cry over spilled milk because we have a tournament and we have 68 teams, and unfortunately, some of these teams just didn't make it. I would love to cry about Villanova, but I mean, if they had won a couple of those games earlier in the season, and you can say that about just about any team, like they had some really big wins. Seton Hall had some big wins, but I mean, some of those losses down the stretch, what happens? What happens is the committee just gets very, very picky, and it sucks, but I mean, they got to put somebody in. And, I don't want to make generalizations, but I don't think Seton Hall and St. John's would have won the whole national championship. So let's put this to rest.
No, but I'll take them over a few other teams that they ended up.
I agree. In there. Boise State and Colorado State, maybe not.
Some
of the best teams.
All right, we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to that 10 matchup. Throw the bracket up. Let's start in the East region? Yes, the East region, Davis.
Yeah, we've got the East and the South up right now. I just want to throw it out there. This is my bracket currently. I don't see it changing very much for my sake, so we can kind of go through some of my picks. We'll go through our picks together. What you think as well, but this is just to let you all know, this is my bracket up on the screen.
The Davis Heckman official bracket.
Not yet. It'll be official at 11:55 a.m. on Thursday.
Yes, of course. All right, Davis. Let's start in the East region because, in my opinion, this is the most loaded region by far. I mean, we'll start with 3. The top 3. No, I'm sorry. Yes, the top 4 seeds are all conference champions. All 4 are conference champions.
Power 6 conference champions.
All 4, I would probably take if they were all in different regions. I would probably take them to win their regions. That's how good they are. Illinois can score points with the best of them. Iowa State just beat Houston for the Big 12 championship, and Auburn might be the best team of them all. Like, it's so weird. I'm really not sure what to think of this, but Davis, I don't know if anybody's going to beat UConn. That's the thing. You can say all you want, but can the Huskies be beat by anyone in this region?
Yeah, I mean, you see it on the screen right here. One of my picks. I've got Auburn taking them down in the Sweet 16. I think, we'll run through all the games very quickly. There are some we don't need to touch on very much, but the one thing that worries me about the Sweet 16 matchup between UConn and Auburn that I believe is going to happen, I think Vegas probably thinks that's going to happen too, is that this game is going to be played in Boston. That worries me. UConn's going to have a home crowd at Brooklyn for their first 2 games and in Boston. So we have UConn taking down Stetson. Come on. I mean, I think this is Stetson's first March Madness appearance ever. Congratulations. It's going to be the worst.
This is the annual team that I hear in the selection show that I'm like, oh, I've never heard of that college before. Congrats. Yep. You've now entered my brain.
Try scoring 45 points. We'll see. Next game, we'll talk about in a little bit too. FAU Northwestern, a very interesting game.
I don't want to go too deep into this because we have to discuss this in a little bit, but big old question mark.
We've got San Diego State taking on UAB. UAB
taking them down.
UAB is a conference winner. San Diego
Yeah,
State is the highest or lowest seed out of all 6 Mountain West teams, and they came in 5th in the regular season. Very interesting to
weird.
talk about there.
Mhm.
Auburn, Yale should not even be here. They were
Nope.
down by 6 with 30 seconds left to Brown.
Who
Came
were
back
under 500 record wise?
correct. BYU against Duquesne. I know it's
Duquesne.
Duquesne. I know. It says Duquesne right there on the screen though. Anyway,
You don't can't speak
um,
French? Oui,
yeah.
oui.
Speaking of French, now my Mormons take them down. This Duquesne team should not be an 11 seed. They went on a stretch in the second half against VCU where they didn't score for 8 minutes.
They didn't.
That's pretty tough to do, actually. So I think even if BYU, here's my hot take, if BYU shoots 12% from three, they will still win and have a good chance of covering the 8.5. We've got Illinois taking on Morehead State. Easy. We got Drake going against Washington State. That's an interesting game. We'll get to that. Iowa State taking
I
down
share your feelings on that one
South
though.
Dakota State.
Yeah.
I got Iowa State in that. I think most people have the Cyclones, but Ethan, this is the region, like you said.
Mhm.
We have 4 Power 6 conference champions in here.
I
We
hate
have
it.
a San Diego State team who made the national championship last year.
Yeah.
We have a BYU team who we all know I'm just absolute in love with, even though they were mid tier in the Big 12.
To say the least.
Still one of the best conferences in college basketball.
Damn right.
Um, I've got Auburn going all the way through, as you see in here.
Yep.
We'll go through your bracket in a little bit. Is there any game that stands out to you outside of this round of 64 that you might be taking a look at and being like, "Ooh, like this could be an upset"? Because we'll get to our round of 64 upsets.
Not an upset, Davis, but I think that San Diego State Auburn second round matchup is absolutely massive. I know that you have Auburn winning this whole region. I also would love to put Auburn in a position like that. I just think that that matchup is so freaking good because if San Diego State wins and presumably UConn takes care of business with whoever they face out of the 8-9 matchup, that could be a rematch of last year's national title game. And, regardless of where these teams are at now, I think San Diego State could take down UConn. They really could just because of what happened last year. But I think that Auburn is trouble, man. They are trouble. And that is a problem that will start to avalanche. And if they win that game, I really, really think it's going to be tough for them to be stopped. In my bracket, I will say I do have UConn taking down Auburn just because I do think UConn might repeat, but we'll get in that in a little bit. But I think that matchup is so, so big just because there's obviously every year two Titans that run into each other and only one can win. But that feels like a heavyweight matchup that will not get talked about enough just because they're probably not two premier blue bloods.
Yeah, good stat for you. I saw today. Out of the last 10 March Madnesses, only 2. So UConn, even though there are 1 seed, there's 4 1 seeds. There is technically a top 1 seed. There's you know what I mean. UConn's the number 1 overall team in this bracket, in this
Gotcha.
entire bracket.
Yep.
2 out of the last 10 years has that number 1 team won the national championship.
Nope.
Odds are on my side. Odds say they do not win. But again, you never know. There was a streak there. I think it was 2014, 2015 when North Carolina won and then Kentucky ended up winning, where both of them were the number 1 seeds. But
Wow.
Ethan, I think that the odds are telling me to not go chalky at the very end and ride with UConn.
Yeah, I know. It's so this is the thing that pisses me off the most about March Madness is when you get too chalky, you're like, I'm making a mistake. I'm making a mistake. And sometimes you aren't with a certain champion or a certain team in the Final Four. But Davis, I mean, it's just one click of the button that will mess up your entire bracket. One of these 11 to 15 seeds could win a couple games and you're screwed. Absolutely screwed. Speaking of 15 seeds, I do have to ask you this question before I forget. The last 3 tournaments, a 15 seed has not only won but advanced to the Sweet 16 just because of the momentum that they've gained. Do you see a 15 seed at least winning one game this year? Because I don't.
Absolutely not. I don't think
Yeah.
so. With the amount of auto bids that we got this year, you're seeing some very interesting 15 seeds. We're seeing a St. Peter's come back. I know Dougie E did it a few years ago, but there's no magic in them this year. They
No,
were
zero.
terrible in a terrible conference. We got Long Beach State, who came in fourth in the regular
They actually
season.
fired their coach on Monday?
Fired their coach on Monday and won the conference championship. That's college basketball for you in the nutshell. Western Kentucky, I think, has the best shot actually against Marquette. I would definitely.
Me too, but I love Marquette.
I would say Western Kentucky keeps it the closest out of all 4 games. But I think the closest is still going to be about a 14, 15-point game.
Yep, I agree. I just saw that stat today, and it is very interesting, but it is marginal. You never know, but I'm feeling pretty strongly on that one. All right, since we have it up, usually go down the columns wise, but let's just flip to the other side, and we'll do the South region, Davis. This is, I think, we talked about the last region being, battle tested, all this stuff, but this is the region of I don't know who's going to win this region because we got Houston, Duke, Kentucky, and if you really want to throw Wisconsin in there, Wisconsin too, a couple like
Marquette.
premier basketball.
Marquette.
No, hold on. Marquette's not on that level yet. They're not a blue blood ish, but they haven't had sustained success in a tournament. These teams are always hot picks. Duke, Houston, Wisconsin, and Kentucky, always hot picks to go far, and they're all in one region. I don't know who's going to get upset first. My gut says Duke, and my other gut says Kentucky. But then I also put Kentucky in a national championship game, one of my first brackets. Davis, I need you to help me organize my thoughts with this region.
Absolutely. As I've said in the past few weeks, there are 2 teams that I hate more on this earth than
Duke and Kentucky.
Anything. Kentucky and Alabama. I do think so. This is right where we were talking about again a few weeks ago, where it's like, hey, are you looking for these spots? Absolutely, I'm looking for these spots. I want a team that can slow down Kentucky and can stop the 3. What does Oakland do? They do not slow the ball. They do not slow the ball down, and they do not stop 3 points, 3-point shots. So Kentucky's actually a perfect matchup for them. They're going to demolish Oakland, in my opinion. But then you go to the second round, or the round of 32, who they're going to match up with: Texas Tech or NC State. Ethan, I think the Cinderella story is over with NC State. I really do. I think that is their Cinderella, winning the ACC. Okay. You're not going to see that again. They played 5 games in 5 days, and I don't see any magic. And I think Texas Tech, a better team that played in a better conference, that played a better schedule, it will take them down. And I also have them taking down Kentucky in the second round, strictly based off of that offensive and defensive efficiency. Texas Tech might not be as efficient on offense, but they can definitely at least stop Kentucky and Reed Shepherd. We've seen Kentucky lose. We've seen it happen. We saw them just lose to Florida. One of my picks actually to win the conference championship. They made the conference championship as a 30-1 long shot and actually hung in there with Auburn for a little bit. So
RIP to that center that broke compound fractured his leg. That was terrible.
Yeah, that looked terrible. But I've got Texas Tech beating Kentucky, making it to the Sweet 16.
I like it. I will get into that game later with the NC State and Texas Tech game because I think that is one of the most interesting games of the whole round of 64. But Davis, I think this James Madison pick over Wisconsin is getting a little bit too much love. It's by far the most picked 12-5 game. I think James Madison's very good. They're very, very good offensively. But I think this is just unpopular. Wisconsin's just going to play better the game. They did not play well against Illinois. But I thought Wisconsin had a lot of momentum from that Purdue win. And I just think they're athletic. And when their shots are on, obviously, you can say that about literally any team. They look unstoppable. And I don't think James Madison's going to show up in this game. I just don't.
Yeah, and that's a little bit just where I take a look at it, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. They are a popular pick. And to be honest with you, Ethan, I don't want to be that guy. I wanted to pick them the second the bracket came out. I was hoping that they would not, because these are 2 teams that I talked about Wisconsin last week. I like Wisconsin. I like Florida. Yeah. And look, these are 2 terrible matchups. Florida has to go up against probably Marquette in the second round if they even get through Boise State or Colorado. And I think that I have Florida right now, but we'll see. That very much could change.
I was going to say the same thing.
So I think that this Wisconsin, I would have loved James Madison almost with a lot of these different matchups with some 5 or 6 seeds, but Wisconsin, it's just a tough draw for them, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're coming off a high, and I just want to pick them at a low.
Okay. All right.
Just that James Madison will be able to stop them with their fast pace and a team that has 31 wins. It's more wins than any team in college basketball this year. No matter who you played, that's the most wins in college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You sometimes look at these records of these teams that are obviously not in the top 25 every week, and you're like, oh my God, McNeese and James Madison have 31 and 30 wins. Why wouldn't I pick them? I mean, just look at their conferences and who they're playing first before you get all excited. That's the real bottom line. But Davis, I mean, sometimes these teams do get hot and win that many games for a reason, and maybe you shouldn't need to pick them because they're a 30-win team. But that is the beauty of March. You really don't know how good a record can be just because you're looking at it. I mean, Michigan State is 19-14 in this tournament, and just because they should not have gotten in, I kind of like them to win more. You know what I mean?
I know. Quick. Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. To finish off this bracket, I think Duke is getting to be a little bit quiet in this region.
Agreed.
Like no one's really talking about them being a 4 seed. I think it's honestly the perfect spot for them. Not too high, not too low, but I don't know how far they can go, man. I have had them in my Elite Eight with Marquette, but can they beat Houston realistically? I know you have it, but do you really see that?
So this is going to be, I'm going to tell you the hardest game for me to pick right now. It's been on my mind for the last literally 2.5 hours since we've been recording this. Texas A&M against Houston. Ethan, I think this is where a 1 seed could go down.
I'm glad you brought attention to this.
I think that this is where a 1 seed could go down. We see Houston's defensive prowess, right? They're fantastic.
Yeah.
You can't win a game if your offense can't score 45 points. And I am a little bit worried that this Texas A&M team with Wade Taylor IV, I see Wade Taylor IV being the next Carson Edwards of March Madness. Like I really do. I see him being this guy that they're like, I think they could match up with Houston very well. I think they very much well could win that game. And I think that they could actually give Duke a chance. Obviously we'll get there, but I just want to throw it out there that I have Duke beating Houston right now, but I really do think that Texas A&M, that pick very much could flip in the favor of the Aggies.
I agree. I think Houston is always like that team that people pick just because they're like, yeah, why wouldn't I? They're a 1 or 2 seed, whatever. But this Houston team, I mean, I don't think they've been frauds for a couple of years now, and they smell the most fraudy than ever. Losing by almost 30 or 30 on the dot to Iowa State in the tournament final. I mean, it's okay to lose your tournament final, but to lose it by 30, but to a team that good, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And you know, sometimes clean slate in the tournament, things change, but that feels like the kind of loss that I don't know how you like just be like, yeah, we'll be all right facing, you know, Texas A&M in the second round. But again, the beauty of March is all of these things that we're going through. Davis, let's move on to the West region. I think the most controversial 1 seed, a lot of people thought Iowa State might get this 1 seed here. UNC holds on to it. I think rightfully so. They've been pretty decent all year. You know, losing to NC State in that tournament final, not great, but are they a legit 1 seed? Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a toss-up. I probably would have put Iowa State there just because they won a conference. Like, I want to see 4 conference winners as my 1 seeds. I mean, to be completely honest. I think that would actually be a very interesting thing in the future if that was a must. If you have to be a conference winner to be a 1 seed, I think it would turn the bracket to be a little bit interesting on who they pick, and that's those slots. But yeah, I mean, North Carolina, 5th best team in the country. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going very much farther down the list than that.
Yeah, and Davis, this is by far, in my opinion, the weakest region. Just not a lot of firepower coming out of this. I have the exact same Elite 8 matchup, a couple other different paths getting there, but I don't love UNC and I don't love Arizona, but the paths they have to a potential Elite 8 are too good not to take them. You know, I do like Mississippi State to beat Michigan State. I think that's a toss-up. Whoever you want to take there is fine. I don't think it's a big deal because I don't think they're going to get past North Carolina in the second round, although they are both good teams. And then I do have Grand Canyon to beat St. Mary's in the first round. But regardless of who wins that game, I don't think that they're that much of a test, especially if they lose to an Alabama. Alabama is one of the worst defensive teams in the country too. So it's just such a weird region, man. I think UNC Arizona might be the most popular Elite Eight pick in the country right now.
Yeah, I would assume so. They're definitely again, everything's gonna change. Everything's gonna change from what you're seeing on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. But right now, I think one of the most interesting games, and of course, we'll get to St. Mary's and Alabama. We've touched on them many different times. Right now, I have St. Mary's going to the Sweet 16. I think the only thing that I do know is that I know Alabama is not going to the Sweet 16 in my bracket. It's either going to be St. Mary's, Grand Canyon, or Charleston. Like, honestly, I truly believe that. And that's how I'm going to have it. I cannot get behind an Alabama team. And I've told you many times, they shoot the three as much as they do, and they don't play any defense. I'd rather have BYU. BYU is a much better defensive team than Alabama. And they're very similar on the efficiency side. So I think Charleston can give Alabama a run. I was saying on the last podcast, I wanted to see a team that could slow Alabama down. Charleston does not do that, unfortunately. So we're going to see Alabama and Charleston battle it out in probably the highest scoring game in this entire first round. But they have the chance of matching up against probably the best defensive team in the country outside of the Big 12, any team in the Big 12 in St. Mary's. So last thing I want to touch on of what would my Cinderella team could be in this tournament. And it's such a shame because I have a future on Baylor and North Carolina to actually win the national championship is New Mexico. I think New Mexico can do it. I think if they beat Baylor, they will beat Arizona or they will beat Nevada. And I think Nevada could beat Arizona too. I don't know. I smell this being probably the strangest. Like, we're going to look at this in like 2 years and be like, Grand Canyon, like to the Elite Eight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be one of those years.
I'm not going to lie to you. I almost had that. But it's just, honestly, sometimes you see the logo in a position and you're like, no, it just doesn't work that way. So I will say, I do have New Mexico in that spot that you just said. I have them beating Clemson, and then I do have them beating Baylor in the round of 32. So that right now is my biggest upset. And dude, I just think this region is so freaking weird. And I don't blame you if you pick Clemson either in that first round matchup. That is going to be a really, really tough game. And then another trap game, I think, is this Nevada-Dayton game. I think if you pick Dayton, you're a chump, and you just clearly haven't been paying attention to college basketball because Dayton stinks. They stink. They should not have been ranked. And
I can't believe they made the tournament.
Honestly, Nevada's just a fun tournament team to root for every year because they're so borderline D1.
I cannot believe Dayton actually is a single-digit seed in this tournament. Ridiculous. But I would love to touch on that New Mexico Clemson game later. Let's move quickly. Let's go through the Midwest very quickly. We've got Purdue. Purdue's going to take
this
down.
Region. I hate this region.
Purdue's going to take down Montana State. Yes, I called it. Montana State will beat Grambling tomorrow. Actually,
bold prediction, Davis.
But it's going to be a much closer game than you think. Purdue's only going to beat them by 19. Purdue is coming off a first round exit last year as a 1 seed, so that's very interesting. They're gonna match up against the winner of Utah State and TCU. Ethan, love TCU. I think this might be one of my favorite picks. The Big 12 conference against Mountain West. I'm almost always taking the Big 12 and the more feisty, fiery, fast-paced team in TCU. Utah State, definitely a lot of questions. They won the Mountain West regular season, but they struggled down the stretch. I'm pretty sure they were about, off the top of my head, 2 for 8.
Utah State has not won a tournament game in like over 10 appearances.
Correct. Utah State right around 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 games. So definitely out on them.
Before you go to the 5-12 and 4-13s, I'm going to tell you to pause because those are 2 interesting matchups we will get to in a couple of minutes.
Like it. We got South Carolina and Oregon. Another weird one.
I don't like this one.
I'm going to go with Oregon. It's so hard.
I'm on the opposite side.
There's a trend of conference champions not performing very well in March Madness, whether that be tired legs and a lot of games in a row. So I want to get there about New Mexico in a little bit and why there's a chance they won't be a Cinderella team. But Oregon has a two-headed monster in Dante, and I don't know how to pronounce the other guy's name. I'm going to call him Croissant, by Mr. Croissant over there, and they played Arizona very well, and they won the Pac-12 championship. Good for them. South Carolina was supposed to be last in the SEC this year, and they made a run during the regular season. I'm just going to pick Oregon because of the fact of recency bias. They've been playing much better than South Carolina in the last few weeks.
I'm on the Gamecocks on that one. I'm not gonna lie. Only because I have a buddy who went to South Carolina and he's all over them, and he is telling me that they're gonna kill the Ducks. And honestly, this is a game that I'm just gonna take his word for it on it.
Yeah,
so shout out the booster.
And I don't hate that. But Creighton Akron, I actually think this could smell upsetty. Nope. Akron is actually a very good team, and if they can hold Creighton from knocking down their 3-pointers, Akron does have the size that could match up against Creighton. Enrique Freeman, never heard of him before. Who is he though? He is the college basketball leading rebounder for the whole year is on Akron. So I think Akron has a chance. Rebounding travels. Sometimes jump shots do not travel. So on these neutral court games.
I'm a big fan of Creighton, not just because I'm a Big East guy. They're laying 12.5 points going into this Akron game, and I would say take the 12.5. I think Creighton is going to destroy Akron. Creighton is by far the most underrated team in this tournament.
I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to take Akron with the points. But we've got my Texas Longhorns losing
no.
to
they beat
Colorado
Penn State last year. Don't say that.
Colorado State will beat Texas. Colorado State, I think, has a top 3 player in all of March Madness in Isaiah Stevens. Isaiah Stevens is the best player west of the Mississippi. Yes, heard me first. He will pop off for 30 against this game with Texas. By the way, how fun is this Colorado State UVA game going to be? Very defensive teams, very slow teams.
UVA might be we just shit on a bunch of teams, but UVA might be the worst tournament team. They're terrible. They're
agreed. Terrible. Tennessee St. Peter's. Ethan, really quick. I don't know if you want to go into the 5-12, 4-13 here or later, but I think this is my favorite grouping of 2 games for 2 rounds. Like, this is my favorite grouping of 3 games of all of March Madness now.
What, Creighton, Texas, and Tennessee?
No. Gonzaga, McNeese, Kansas, Stanford. Because I think anybody can come out of that. I really do.
I hate those. I hate it. I mean, I think the Kansas-Stanford matchup will come down to who's playing for Kansas. Are McCullers and Dickinson playing? Because all I've heard is that Stanford is legit. Stanford is really, really good, but they're small. They're really small. So if Dickinson plays, it would obviously favor the Jayhawks. And then this McNeese team, Will Wade, our old buddy Will Wade, has found his way back into college basketball. A lot of people are saying that he's probably not really caring he's probably looking forward to his next job this offseason. I think the opposite. I think he is hoping and praying for a matchup with the Jayhawks in the second round. And for that reason, I think McNeese is a lock against Gonzaga this weekend.
I'm on the complete other side. I'm taking Gonzaga. They will have the best player on the floor for that game in Graham Ike. He is unreal for Gonzaga. He has been, since New Year's, he's been one of the best forwards in all of college basketball. I will take him all day, and I will be taking Samford against Kansas. Ethan, very simple. I'll take the team that shoots 40% from 3 as a team over a struggling and hurt Kansas team.
Gonzaga sucks. That's
all right, that's Ethan. All I want to say. Let's get to some of your. Let's go back to some and highlight some quick games here. Ethan, some of your upsets. Let's hear it.
These are my upsets. These are the upsets that I'm calling. One, to put my reputation on the line. I think New Mexico will take care of business against Clemson. Clemson is.
It's not an upset.
I know that they're favored, but we're going to go with the seeding. I don't care about the betting lines. The betting lines officially don't matter anymore because this is the tournament, and I will look at that. The 11-seeded underdog Lobos, I will take them against Clemson. I know Clemson is in the ACC, and they've faced some of the toughest talent in the nation, but this Mountain West Conference is not getting enough due. And I know that the Lobos just won a conference title, and I don't think they're going to go far, but I do think they're going to win out of it. The next one,
Duquesne. Duquesne.
I know you have something to say about this. I think BYU goes down round one. Any team that shoots and makes more 3-pointers than 2-pointers their entire season and loses the first tournament or conference tournament game does
Wrong.
not
They
smell
beat
good to
UCF.
me.
Wrong. You're
Also,
not knowledgeable. You don't know anything. They beat UCF.
yeah, I'm not a Big 12 guy. Duquesne is in the tournament for the first time since 1977, which is the year that Star Wars came out, Davis. So I am all over Duquesne.
Wow.
Again, another conference title winner that will probably flame out, but I do think they get a win out of it. BYU is fake. They only have shooters. They cannot get to the rim at all, and Duquesne can do a little bit of both. Grand Canyon against St. Mary's. I won't lie. I'm just not a fan of these Gonzaga St. Mary's teams. I like Grand Canyon. I like Bryce Drew. I think that they are very, very tough. I actually just bet on them randomly twice last weekend, and they covered the spread in both times I bet on them. So I'm just kind of running with the Grand Canyon on this. They're the Antelopes, I think. I'm running with the Antelopes on this. And then McNeese, I already explained my thinking behind this. I just think they're going to play better than Gonzaga. Gonzaga just famously flames out every year, so loving that. Question marks. Davis, this FAU Northwestern game, I can't pick it. FAU is not the same FAU as last year. Northwestern has some injuries, but was it Boo Buie?
Boo Buie.
Right? Boo Buie?
Boo Buie.
That's a name meant for the NCAA tournament, bro. He's going to score 30 points. And, like, I
I
can already
couldn't
see it
agree.
now, but
Couldn't
I
agree
don't
with you
know.
more. Couldn't agree with you more. You know what matchup this reminds me of from last year that I was on the right side of, and I think you were too. All of our other friends hated us for is the FAU Memphis game. Everyone was on Memphis, Penny Hardaway, blah blah blah.
Actually, I
No,
picked Memphis and bet on FAU, so thank you for that.
well, we were on FAU. I
Yeah.
had them in my
Yeah.
bracket, and we had FAU, and we shocked the world, and we made the
We
Final
did.
Four last year.
We did.
So, what's going to happen this year? Passing of the
Not
torch as Northwestern will take down FAU. This is a weird one, though, where I'm doing something really stupid. The line opened Northwestern -2.5, and very quickly trickled over to FAU -2. So a lot of money got poured on to the Owls. I think that they deservingly get respect, but they have not been playing very well in conference play this year.
No.
The only way they win is if they go back to November of when they were beating Arizona, those type of teams.
Yep. That's the other thing I can't get past is that they literally just lost to Temple. And that's not great considering Temple season. Look it up if you haven't. Kansas and Sanford, I have a question mark here only because of the injuries. I just think if Dickinson plays, I'm just going to pick Kansas. If not, I'm just going to go right to Sanford. It's as simple as that. This game, NC State and Texas Tech, man. I know we talked about this earlier. You think NC State is not going to go on a run like this. I agree that they're not going to go on a run, but kind of back to my previous thinking, I think some of these conference title teams that stole bids are not just going to flame out. And also, I think Texas Tech is weak. I don't think they're the best team in the Big 12, let alone I just don't think they're going to win this spot. I think NC State handles them. I would take NC State if they were a favorite -5.5. I think they're the underdog, and I would
By
love NC
5.5.
State.
Texas Tech's favored by 5.5.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would take NC State minus the 5. Ultimate spread that hoe. This one, Utah State, TCU.
Whoa. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
I just don't. I don't want to take Utah State just because of obvious reasons they haven't won a tournament game, but I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be very fun, and I'm just not sure what to pick for this one. Just these 8-9s are weird, man. You got a take on this?
Mountain West has been historically terrible in March Madness.
They sure have.
I have a few Mountain West teams. I have a few Mountain West. Well, really just San Diego State. Everyone else flamed out. But I think that the Mountain West could be very interesting this year with New Mexico. But I do not have faith in San Diego State. I do have faith in Colorado State, though, as I said. I'll touch on these very quickly. Some of them are very similar. We've already talked about them. James Madison over Wisconsin. Great spot. I don't trust the streakiness of Wisconsin. I told everybody I liked them at 80-1 last week. And I think they just got put up with a terrible, terrible matchup here, unfortunately for them. Samford, Kansas, agree with you. I think I need Dickinson and McCullers to play to switch this pick. But we'll see. I've got Oregon beating South Carolina. Again, another one that could switch. I see it staying at that spot, but the absolute lock of my upsets is Colorado State over Texas. Not only Colorado State against UVA, Colorado State over Texas. Question marks, New Mexico State and Clemson. We're going to talk about that all week. Northwestern and FAU, where, you know what I mean? We're on the same boat here.
Up.
And the other Mountain West team, UAB.
You like UAB, huh?
State. So I had UAB. I'm not going to lie to you. I had UAB picked all day today. And I switched it right before I took this screenshot because I think my mind is loving UAB plus 7.5 so much. It wants them to win. But I love UAB 7.5.
I do like that. Actually,
it's one of my favorite bets of the entire tournament so far. And I think UAB, their only downside is their defense, but San Diego State has been horrific in the last 2 months or so. But Ethan, we got some locks here. You've got Wisconsin, you've got Nevada, and you've got Texas A&M. I agree with 2 of them. I think you know which 2 I agree with. Nevada and Texas A&M. I don't know if I would classify them as locks, but I have New Mexico as my lock. Love them. I think Clemson is a team that should not have been a 6 seed. I think they should have been closer to an 8 seed, in my opinion. I've got Texas.
I think A&M and Clemson should be flipped, in my opinion, but
agreed. I actually 100% agree, and I would have loved A&M against New Mexico, but I got Tech against NC State. Love Tech, as I've already said, and TCU Big 12 over Mountain West. I'll do it all day. I'll do it all day to you.
I love it. I love it, Davis. All right, on to the next. We have the round of 32 picks. These are picks that we might not even get to. Clemson might win, and everything will be ruined. Who knows? But like I said, Davis, I do have New Mexico beating Baylor in the second round. Something to look for. This is my only potential. Actually, not only. Look at Drake below it. I do have Drake beating Iowa State, by the way. Should have thrown that out there as well. Tucker DeVries, I think is his name. Is that his name?
Fantastic.
Kid is a beast, averaging 22 points per game this year. I honestly just think he's going to shoot the lights out against Washington State. And then I think Iowa State's magic has run out. I just, like you said, I think these conference winners are due to flame out. And we'll talk more about that later because of who my national champion is. But it's quite the tricky line to walk, Davis. I don't really know when these teams will time out, when this bomb is going to go off. But I like Drake. I do think they can take down Iowa State. And then on this right side, Davis, like I already talked about that with the, the South bracket, these 6 games right here that I think you even brought up are so curious. I think A&M could beat Houston, like you already said. I think Wisconsin Duke winner could be a sneaky run, maybe to Elite 8. And then I had Kentucky in a national championship earlier today. And I think they can go far. But the defensive splits are some of the worst in Calipari's history, and it's just taking me off the line. I really want to put them there because they're so good offensively, but they're just that bad defensively at the same time. It's bizarre.
I agree. I can't get behind Kentucky. You know that.
I want to.
Ethan, we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
We talked about, and you don't see the seeds here, but we've talked about it so much. I hope you would know what seeds they are. We've got some teams who are the higher seeds that are favored. You asked me a few weeks ago about sketchy lines and what I'm looking for. Ethan, what do you see on here that I see immediately that at least I have on my bracket? I have New Mexico, Drake, and Nevada winning. This is exactly what I've been looking for. I want these higher seeds. I've already got New Mexico at -1.5. Grabbed that last night. Got Drake at -1, and I did not bet on Nevada. But Ethan, you asked me about it, and I give to you and the people fishy lines.
Let me counter with a question then. Since all 3 of these teams that are the lower or higher seed, whatever you want to say, they're favored. Does that scare you off of picking them in your bracket? In your bracket, not with the money, but in your bracket.
No, it makes me want to pick them more.
Why is that? Since the public is all over them.
All over the upset, which isn't actually
Mm-hmm.
an upset.
Mm-hmm.
Because Vegas is smart, and these
Okay.
people are very smart, and they watch a lot of college basketball. Like, look at some people. There are going to be some people that, trust me, me and you both know, and it's not like we're calling names or anything, but
We can.
some people are making brackets and being like, "Oh, Clemson, Washington State, and Dayton." Why? Because they're all the better seed. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do a little bit of in-depth research about some of these
For
teams,
sure.
and if you quickly look at these lines, I mean, these seeds very well could be flipped. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
want
Yep.
that. I want the fishy lines, like I've talked about, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm all over all three of these.
I'm also all over all three of these. The only question mark I have out of those three matchups, I think Washington State could go on a run if they win, and that's the only thing that scares me. They beat Arizona twice this year. I think the Pac-12 is criminally underrated as a conference. It's a shame that it's going to be abominalized or whatever word you want to use.
My
Sucks, but
concern is New Mexico in round one
yeah,
because of the conference championship winning trend that happens sometimes. And I wish they would have more days off. I know Drake did win their conference, but they won it a few days earlier, so they still have off. Ethan, let's get to your national champion pick.
I don't want to. I really don't want to. I've never felt more stressed out unveiling something like this before, but I will. Flash on the screen now. I have UConn.
Chalky.
Very chalky. I don't feel good about it. I switched between them and North Carolina most of today. I still reserve the right to switch again, but I have a feeling that I'm going to stick with UConn. I'm getting major Florida 2008, 2009 vibes. New coach in a new school that is very, very good. I know that there's a little bit of turnover on this roster from last year, and it's not the same national championship team. They're missing Hawkins and Sanoga, but this UConn team is so good, man. And if they can get through that region, which I don't think is, I know it's definitely a minefield, but it's not impossible. I don't think anything would stop them. I don't think anything coming out of that North Carolina region could stop them. It's definitely chalky, but I do have two of the three Big East teams in my Final Four as well. Marquette has a lot to prove, but I think with Kolek being back, this team is really tough. And they're literally designed to be in this position. They are not the best regular season team, but this Marquette team can shoot, defend, rebound. They remind me, honestly, a lot of Villanova coming up on the come up. They're just hungry, man. And honestly, I think Marquette is the biggest lock of all these four teams to be in the Final Four. I don't know if that's crazy, but I really feel confident Marquette's going to be in the Final Four.
Clip it, clip it, clip
Yeah,
it, clip it.
clip it for sure. But Davis, I don't see. I think the Huskies could repeat, man. I really, really do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're the betting favorite. They're the number one
Mm-hmm.
overall seed. You heard why I don't like them, but it's not because they're I don't want to be like that guy that's the best team. They're
No, it's
not going to
because they
win.
won the conference championship.
A part of it is, and a part of it is honestly, they're due. Like, they're due for a loss. They've been playing a lot of very close games recently, actually. And I think that they're due for a loss at some point. And guess what? They're going to run into probably 2 or 3 conference winners on the way to the national championship. Ethan, I did not go with a conference champion.
I know you went with, and I hate your national champion.
Let me tell you a quick story. Okay. 2017. What does Davis do when he's making his bracket? What's his name? I almost said Tony Bennett. Is it Tony Bennett? Who's the guy? Who's the Virginia coach?
Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett. Yeah. Like, you know what? This guy plays defense really well. As a young kid, loved defense even as a kid. I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. What happens? I get home from school and they're down by 15 to UMBC. That crushed my heart. Crushed my heart. My national champion winner was gone in a matter of 3 hours. We've all been there, especially Ethan. But what did I do the next year? I didn't run from it. I picked Virginia again. And guess what? I got shit on. I did. And they won the national championship. Ethan, give me the Purdue Boilermakers to make that same run this year. They have.
I knew you were going to unveil it, and I still hate it.
They have the guards. They have the center. They do not foul.
What
they
guards?
Are one of the
Matt
best.
Lawyer?
Mason Gillis might be one of the best guards in the Big Ten. Ethan, this Purdue team has it all. This Purdue team has it all.
Yeah, they have Zach Edey, and that's it.
Efficiency-wise, free throw-wise. Oh, and what's the concern? Oh, maybe Zach Edey will get in the foul trouble. No.
He will.
Stripes loves him. Stripes love him.
That's the other thing. These referees are treating Zach Edey like he is 10 years old with some sort of horrible illness that no one in the rest of the world has ever encountered. I mean, they do not know how to referee this guy. I mean, it's evident that college referees are so used to a center being 6'9" at the most, so they don't know what to do when a center is 7'3", 7'4". And I mean, these Big Ten referees are already as dumb as it is, and they were lost on Saturday against Wisconsin. It's a miracle Wisconsin even won that game, to be honest. Seriously.
Kind of agree.
I know,
yes.
And I know that, it's the tournament and there's different referees for different games. There's never any like Big Ten referees refereeing, a Big Ten team in a game like this. But I mean, it's hard not to like, referees are kind of like monkey see is monkey do. And if they see in the Big Ten tournament, they're calling them every 5 seconds. They're going to be like, that's what I'll do in round 1. So it's just something to keep an eye on.
For sure. And you see who I have Purdue matched up with in the Final Four. I have Duke. I think this Duke team makes it with or without a Houston win. I really do. I know we talked about Texas A&M a little bit. On the other side, we've got AA, not the AA you're thinking of. We got Auburn against Arizona.
Not my fantasy football team, that's for sure. I'm not a fan of Auburn or Arizona. Arizona.
Agreed. I think this is the pick that I feel the least confident about that very much could change is Arizona. I'm very locked in with Purdue, and I would say number 2 would be Duke on that list of locks. Davis's locks. Auburn would be 3, and then a big drop off, and then Arizona.
Duke is so compelling to you because I can't be like Kyle Filipowski and John Shire's expertise. Is there something
I don't like Marquette.
Why?
Yeah. I still don't know if Kolek's healthy. I still want to see him healthy.
It's fair.
Because a weak injury is tough to come back from. So I want to see him healthy. I'm putting that into consideration for sure. But then we see it here in the East region. I'm picking Auburn out of all 4 of these conference winners. Obviously, there are a few more, but out of the ones who can actually make this run, probably, I've got Auburn. Ethan, I think Auburn is the most underrated team in college basketball this year. Don't be surprised if when this podcast ends, I change my national champion runner-up to Auburn. Very much could happen. But I think that
to put the national championship crown on them.
I don't want to see the gas. I don't know if they're going to have the gas after winning a conference championship. And it sounds weird.
Okay.
It's just a one game difference. But I have to look at it analytically too and say, I don't want to put all my eggs in a basket on Auburn, who they have a very good chance of losing on day 2. You know what I mean? Like, I would rather
they won judging last year too. Let's not forget they lost to Princeton.
Yes, well, Arizona did. Yes.
Sorry, you're right.
But I think this Auburn team with Bruce Pearl have gone on runs. We saw it the last few years that they've gone on runs. So I'll buy into Bruce. I'll buy into the Tigers, and I'm still buying into the Boilermakers. You'll see them raising the trophy at the end of the year.
I don't feel confident in anything I do, so I'm not gonna really. It's tough, man, because like I don't think Purdue is gonna be there, but I'm not confident enough to fight you because, I mean, for all we know, Colorado State will be playing Duquesne in the national championship. Man, we do not like last year was insane. I was going back through the 2023 tournament challenge. Something to keep an eye on. Last year was batshit insane. Looking at that Final Four and the Elite Eights, we had a 5 and a 6 Elite 8 matchup. We had a 9 to 3 Elite 8 matchup, 4 and a 3. Like, it's gonna be nuts, but maybe not as nuts as last year. Keep that in mind. I know I went very chalky in some picks. I think we are gonna see a trend of not super chalky, but a little bit more chalky. And also something to keep in mind, some of these regions also are complete chalk. There are regions that the obvious team wins every single matchup. So don't psych yourself out, but you're going to psych yourself out. It's a fine line that needs to be walked, but that's why it's so fun, because once these games start and that team you had in the Final Four loses on day one, you don't care. Your care goes out the window the second the games start. We're just happy to be here, Davis.
And have fun. If you want to look at certain stats and say, hey, I want a team that has the best defensive efficiency. I want a team that shoots the most 3-pointers in college basketball. Do not forget the BYU Mormons. Take them now. Before I do.
The Cougars, they're not called the Mormons.
Before I do, take them before I do.
Sounds a little bit sketchy. Davis is going to abduct some Mormons. But
whoa.
It's March.
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? Family friendly. Sorry for cussing. All right, Davis. I don't even know where to go for this. How are you feeling about your bracket on a scale of 0 to 10?
I'll go with a 6.7.
Yeah, I'm feeling about a 0. So I think we're feeling about on the same page.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it sounds about it.
We'll see you Thursday night. We'll be back Thursday night.
What are you talking about, dude? I'm going to be sitting posted on my couch tomorrow texting you. Let's get a Final Four or First Four reaction pod.
No. Don't tempt me with a good time. Don't tempt me with a good time now.
We will be back on Thursday. Do not worry. We might have to push till Friday or Saturday. It's March. We'll accommodate what works best. But, dude, I'm just so happy to be here. I can't wait for the First Four games tomorrow. It's like you're addicted to college basketball because this whole weekend it's been like just injecting into my veins, and then today it's like there's no college basketball on, there's no daytime sports on. What am I supposed to work?
Am I supposed to do? Watch the Sixers? I'm out.
No. I'd rather watch the Flyers on repeat.
I'll still pass right now.
Yeah, seriously. All right, Davis.
Get your mind right, Ethan. Get your mind right.
We need to get our minds right. That's right. Make sure you're getting 8 hours of sleep. Make sure you're eating the right foods, 3 square meals a day. Don't eat too much crap leading up to this weekend. Seriously, because you need to save this brain energy for picks, parlays, and everything else that comes with it. I cannot wait. So excited. Dude, please, Bocce Nation, wherever the hell we're calling you, continue supporting. Share this video. Send it to your friends. Subscribe, like, share the clip, all that stuff. It's March and we need your support because we're going to try and put out as much content, but we have to show some kind of initiative here, guys. Show the love. We need it. Davis, how we feeling? We doing well? We eating good?
Nation. We love it.
We're eating well.
It's the greatest time of the year.
I love it. Bocce Nation, we'll talk to you on Thursday or Friday, whatever. It's March. Enjoy the madness. See ya.